Hello everybody. It is Wednesday the 21st of January, and before I start I want to thank the subscriber that sent me a donation. Again, another very welcome surprise. Thank you so much. It did help a lot. I'm just going from one tight spot to another and these things seem to arrive just when I don't know where to go next. Thank you. Now, today I want to talk about the fall of wisdom, not into the material, but the fall of wisdom in general, and how we are in sin, meaning we're missing the mark. We're missing the mark of what we are or what we should be. And we're being led by entities that will lead us on the wrong path. I want to talk about something specific today, which is the healing of sick, or the caring for sick, not the healing, the caring for sick. And what I'm going to say, this has been on my mind for a long, long time. What I'm going to say is going to be very harsh and maybe even brutal. But it has been on my mind for a long time, and I think it's time I said it. And I'm sure there are many here that will not agree with me, but it is what I see. It is the truth that I see, and that's all I can say. Right. So, the fall from wisdom. The reason why we can be led, and I said we're being led by other entities and nothing else. It is an entity to entity, those are entity to entity connections by which we are being led. It is throughout the entire Bible. Yeah, and that we really need to find our own wisdom, and we must discern what it is we're doing. Now, the reason why we are in this mess, why we can be led, is because of the wrong perception of what it is we are and what it is we're in. And those perceptions have been created. Thoughts, the idea of what it is we are and what it is we're in has been given. And those were seeds that created our reality, or the reality we think we're in, not the underlying truth. Now, as I said, one of the big seeds that led to the fall of wisdom was the idea of the one creator God, the one being that must be served, that is the creator of all. And the other one that I can see in this world today is the teaching that what happened in the garden, the taking of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, that knowing good and evil actually constitutes a fall. And it should have been an ascension. We absolutely must know good from bad. And I want to talk about Johnson Julian later. I will name him because not just talking about him, but it is something that I'm aware of. And just using him as an example. It's not him. This thing is all over the world. But I've heard him say that it is a good and bad satanic operating system that we should not discern. Again, one of those, that seed, was very much planted by Paul. And here I want to show you that you can actually use the same words and talk about two completely different things, which are both wrong. When Paul said, Paul obviously taught that the knowledge of good and evil constituted a fall. And that there is one that we should be in service of. Yeah, and that we should not say it is because of us, and that we should all give all the glory to God, you know, and don't go by your own knowing, you know, and it is really switch off your brain, obey, do as you're told, and that would somehow constitute wisdom. Now, in Paul's case, what he believed on and what was taught at the time was the mighty being that would have dominion over the world. That is throughout the entire Old Testament, and that being is still there. And I would say that being does exist, but it is not the creator of all. So when Paul was talking about, you know, don't go by your own knowing, he meant if you don't, you get destroyed. So wisdom is knowing that God is almighty and much stronger than you, so keep your head down and do as you're told. That was Paul's take on wisdom. Yeah? And if you don't, you will go to hell or you will be destroyed. Whereas the New Agers now actually are thinking that this almighty being is all love. Yeah? Therefore, if you're all spiritual and you're receiving insight, it is coming from love. Because God is all love, and you must obey. Again, you must obey. You must not think for yourself, because apparently the knowledge of good and bad is satanic and will lead to our fall, as Paul said. So again, we must obey, because that being out there is all love. Yeah, and it's all goodness and it's all light. And that is just, again, another half-truth. The all is all. From it comes all. Yeah? And Jesus said, in it there is no judgment. It gives to that which is. And it doesn't care what it is. It doesn't judge what it is. It just gives to that which is. Or another wisdom in the Bible, and there's not a lot of wisdom in the Bible, but this one is, it reigneth on the just and the unjust. There is no judgment. It only gives to what is, and what is the creator. So you're going from the uncreated all to the creator, and every part of consciousness is its own little creator. So we are the creators. The trees are the creators. The animals are the creators. Everything gives to its own environment, is a part creator of this world. So as far as the all is concerned, that is it. It gives to what is. Creation happens on the level of creation, and we are in it. And we are part creators of what is happening. And there is no knowledge. I would say there is no knowledge coming from the all. Knowledge, again, is in the created. The knowledge of the all is in the created. It's been made manifest in different forms in the created. And here comes knowledge that is given. Either comes from within yourself. Again, there's the, I don't know how you discern that, where it's actually coming from. It's either coming from yourself, knowledge maybe from lifetimes that is contained within you, or it is an entity-to-entity connection. And again, no entity is all. And when we come to entity-to-entity connection, there we need wisdom. I mean, we absolutely need wisdom. We need discernment. We need the knowledge of good and bad. Because whereas there might be entities out there that will give with a true desire to just help and that are altruistic in their giving, they don't ask anything in return. whereas those entities may be out there. I mean, even that, if they are coming from a completely different environment, what they know as good may not work here. Yeah? What is food for one may be poison to another. We know that truth even in this world. So even there we need discernment. Even if we are dealing with entities that are giving out of the love of their heart, even there we need discernment. But there are others that will give knowledge, lead you on a way that will serve them. And then you definitely need discernment. You should not be a slave to anybody's will. Not in this world, not to those that are outside of this world. So, and here comes being led on the wrong way through lack of wisdom. And if you think about it rationally, I say what I'm about to say is extremely harsh. Now, when it comes to caring for the sick, and I said Johnson Julian is not the only one on that path, that believes he's doing good, led by the one Almighty God that doesn't exist, not in form, and truly believing that he should not discern for himself, that the knowledge of good and bad is satanic. Something that we should reject all knowledge for ourselves. Don't think for yourself, do as you're told. Right, now the healing of the sick. If in his position and others, you're caring for disabled people. In the case of Tanzania, yes, they live in unimaginable conditions, being locked away somewhere, being chained up somewhere. And if they are found by traffickers, they will be sold on to be used in rituals, which is horrendous. I mean, you can't even think about that. So we're gathering up the sick, we're gathering up the disabled, and we're taking them out of that suffering, but the suffering does not go away because they are not being healed. We're putting them in nice surroundings, we're putting them into state-of-the-art wheelchairs. Yes, we give to them of our love, but still the suffering is not there. It's not gone, it's not gone. It might be a bit less, but it's definitely still there. That distorted energy that is within the sick and the disabled is still there. Now, and if you say you're being led to build these hospitals, these places to care for the sick, what is leading you? Oh, it's not me. I'm not thinking for myself, obviously not. Brain switched off completely. I believe on this great being that is all love, which is a half-truth, a part-truth. The all is the fullness. Love is one of the eons in the pleroma, yes, but it's not the only one. You're operating on a part-truth. So you've gathered all these children in the one place. You ensured that they wouldn't be killed by traffickers or those that would perform ritual. But their suffering is still in this world, and all you have done is gather them all up in the one place. And what has led you to do that? I know from John, he says there are entities there. You are creating a feeding trough of suffering. Sorry, there's the brutal truth, but that's all you're doing. You're saving the suffering to ensure that it stays in this world. You are ensuring that it stays alive for as long as possible. And apparently there are entities around you that are leading you to do that. Why? I would say you have created a feeding trough of suffering, of negative energy. You're gathering their food. Sorry, that's brutal, but I really think that is what we're doing. And John's not the only one. Again, we're being led into thinking, and yes, led by our own compassion. Yes, absolutely. Again, part of what is within us that's been triggered, deliberately being triggered. We're being driven into compassion to do these things, thinking we're doing something good. Now, always referring to as the Christ, as love and compassion that is building these hospitals, these places. And of course then the word Christ would kind of lead you to think about Jesus. And here is where we are in sin, because we haven't thought that through. We haven't used wisdom, we haven't used knowledge, our eyes are not open to the truth of what it is we're actually doing. Jesus did not build hospitals. The disciples did not build hospitals. Okay, they did not care for the sick. They healed them. And even when it comes to the healings in the Bible, it is being referred to as driving out demons, energies, forces, that the distorted energies within the person, to set it right, which will then manifest as healing. It will show in the form, because it is the energy that creates the form. That is what they did. And again, going above and beyond the material. That is the entire point of the teaching of Jesus. To go beyond the material. Whichever way we can do that, believe. Know that we are those beings. Know that that is another part of our reality that we are not aware of at the moment. But it's there, it's always there. So Jesus wanted us to go beyond the material. Jesus did not want us to buy wheelchairs. He wanted us to heal. And here we're missing the mark. And by us missing the mark, suffering stays in this world. Dressed up in fine clothing and in nice bright rooms with, as I said, state-of-the-art wheelchairs, but suffering is still there. And then again, who is leading us to do that? Whose will is being done when we gather up all those sick and care for them purely in the material realm, not taking away the suffering, but in a way prolonging it. I mean, that's all we're doing, we're prolonging it. And who's leading us to do that? What is the intent of the entities that will lead you to do that? So, as I said, I think all we're doing is building feeding troughs driven by love and compassion, thinking we're doing the right thing. But if you really look at the fruit, really look at the outcome, and you do engage your grey matter, please do. You've been given a brain for a reason. Use it. Then you will see clearly that's all we're doing. We're just prolonging suffering. We're concentrating it in one place. As I said, we are building feeding troughs for entities that are leading us. So, and if we go back to the knowledge that was in this world before the Gnostics, the likes of Paul, those with entity attachments, sowed their seeds to tell us what we are and what we're in. Before that was the clear understanding that there was in all a field out of which all consciousness is created. The field itself cannot be known. There is nothing there that you can know. The field known is in the created. This is the field known in all its possibilities, of which there are gazillions. Different levels of consciousness, different forms of consciousness, all a part of it, a part of it. And that the creative power, the creative part is in the created. That is us. And then we need to know what we're doing. We need to take responsibility for what it is we're doing. Again, sitting there and saying, oh, it's the will of the Creator, no good. You are the Creator. Take responsibility and start thinking about what it is you're doing. Look at the fruit of your labor and see what it is you're actually doing, with your eyes open to the truth. So that is where we need to come to. And I mean, in many ways, I see others that speak about entities. And we have actually come a long way, where people would say, well, let's say, talk about Bashar, where, now I hope I got this right, I think his name is Daryl Anker, isn't it? Hopefully. Where he himself says, I don't know where it's coming from. It could be from inside myself, or it is an entity called Bashar. Still, he is saying, I'm only saying what he is saying. Again, it is for us to discern what is being said, and that is the correct way. And many others are doing that as well. Clearly saying there is an entity out there that I'm channeling. And that is already a long way from, thus says the Lord, and his will must be done. So we're already shifting into discernment. We are already shifting into this place where we must discern about what it is we are hearing. Again, wisdom is knowledge, is the knowledge of God, is judgment. That is wisdom. And if you put wisdom again into its parts, it is knowledge and it is judgment. And it is knowledge of outcome. Sophia, knowledge of foresight, knowledge of outcomes, discernment. And we have fallen from that wisdom by saying there is one, and we must be filled with his will, whether it is Paul's way, because the one is so powerful, if you don't do it, you get clobbered, or it is the way of the New Ages, the all is all love, and therefore you must switch off your brain and do as you're told. All have truth. Elevating something that is only a part whether that is one being elevating it into the creator of all, or whether it is one part inside of you, love, and elevating that into all. Either way, you are in part truth, and you're blind to the fullness of the truth. The all is the fullness. It's made out of many parts. And if you reject all other parts apart from the one, you are not in the truth. So, yes, I think the idea where these thoughts are coming from, we really must look into that. It is not one creator of all being. That was the first thought that led to the fall. That was the thought that led to the fall. That being, it's already said in the text, Jahilbaeus was deluded in thinking that, and then he created archons, those that believed, those that would serve his delusion. And that delusion spread over the world, and wisdom grew dim. We must return to wisdom, and that means the knowledge of self, discernment, knowing what it is we're doing. And that must be the foundation before we even go to the teaching of Jesus, which is go beyond the material. He did not say care for the suffering in this world by material means. You're missing the mark. If you're doing that, you're missing the mark. You are in sin. You are not the fullness of what you are and what you're supposed to do, to be, and what you're supposed to do. Go beyond the material. And only if healing really occurs is the suffering no longer in this world, which means those entities have nothing left to feed on. And that is most likely the only way to get rid of them, by taking away their food, which would mean healing, true healing. But as long as we only gather the suffering, I think, as I said, it's brutal, but I think we're only creating feeding troughs, believing that we're doing something good, because we have been told to switch our brains off and not to think about it ourselves, but trust and obey. God is love. I don't think they are love. Anyway, this is what I wanted to say today. I say probably those here that disagree with me, but we must stand in our own truth. We must have discernment. We must have wisdom. And the knowledge of good and bad is part of wisdom. And without it, we have fallen from wisdom. We can see the outcome, and we must reason about what's in front of us with our eyes open to the totality of the truth, and see what we've actually created. Yeah, and we're supposed to go beyond the physical, in a state of wisdom. I wonder whoever make that. Anyway, here, I leave it at that for today. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.